Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and I've got another video, more of an update and kind of a conclusion about the Mjolnir Inquisitor Arc and Spark character that I've been playing for the past few days. Now first things first, I am using a different microphone today, so bear that in mind, that's why I sound different. In any case, about the build. So far it's been working out really well, and right here I'm facing a minus max Palace Dominus, which is why you don't see me trying to take any of the lightning damage. But I digress. The area damage and clear speed and map farming all the way up to tier 15 seems to be really strong. What I've really had to try and fix is the single target, and the best solution is the one I've come up with right here. That is to use at least one spark in the Mjolnir, maybe even two, and a Vile Glacial Hammer on top of bosses. On top of that, I'm also using Vile Lightning Strike to help proc extra, procs off of the Mjolnir. So when I have my Vile Lightning Strike, while I'm cycloning with a Vile Glacial Hammer up, we basically call this the Thunderdome, and it ends up being a fairly respectable single target DPS. The only real problem with it is, the setup time takes a good 1 or 2 seconds, at which point you may be somewhat vulnerable. But you can see here that when the Thunderdome does work, and it works pretty well, then it's just amazing, because you get all kinds of procs inside your little barrier, and you kill even the toughest bosses with some pretty solid single target. As I said though, it's just it takes a bit of time to set up if you want your maximum single target, and also you're bound to basically Vile skills for really good single target. Now, that doesn't actually matter for most bosses and for pretty much map clearing and rares. All it really matters for is the tough bosses, and especially the bosses with multi-phases. Those end up being somewhat hard to actually kill with these single target setups, but for the most part this seems to be working out okay. In conclusion, for this character, it's just not really a very strong, let's say, core or Uber Atziri type of character. Even though you can kill most bosses, you'll very much struggle on things like Uber Atziri, or more importantly, Atziri herself. But here's a good example of what Vile Lightning Strike looks like and does. What you do is you Vile Lightning Strike the guy, then you can even run away, and Vile Lightning Strike just keeps on ticking on the mob, because it's basically a dot, and will keep on proccing Mjolnir, even when you're not near him and attacking anymore. And that's the purpose of Vile Lightning Strike in the setup. It just takes a while to actually proc and get going. Now, I threw out a few Vile Lightning Strikes there too, and it seems to work out alright. And this is a tier 15 comb. Some more Vile Lightning Strikes. Give that bitch a Thunderdome. Bitches love Thunderdomes. And the single target is somewhat respectable at that point. The character's fairly tanky as well, with the Fortify, Life Leech, and Vile Pact combo we got going. And you can certainly go for even more life if you really wanted to. I just felt 5k was a comfortable amount with Fortify, Cyclone, and the high amount of DPS I was doing for pretty much any map, aside from the hardest of the hard stuff, which I don't really do because this is not at all an Uber Atziri character, nor do you expect it to take down the core bosses with this. That said, this is my first ever Atziri run we're watching here, and it doesn't go too bad actually. Normal Atziri certainly isn't a problem, and as you can see, the Arc, as well as Spark, I'm not sure if I'm actually using Spark right now, but the Arc itself just absolutely shits on monsters with those 10 chains, and Call of the Brotherhood splitting it into 2 means I'm doing immense amounts of damage, and chaining through a lot of monsters, especially if they're durable and actually survive a while, like Uber Atziri Trash will, as you will see shortly. Then you get more and more procs, more and more arcs flying out, and it becomes stronger and stronger DPS. So with all these arc procs and with all the shatters and the Call of the Brotherhood you got going, it ends up being a very fun character to map with and very strong in the mapping sense. All we had to do for Atziri was basically fix our single target, knowing that I had to do 3 phases, and I did that with the Thunderdome and charging up 3, well in this case, 2 separate Vile Glacial Hammers, and I was just hoping for, I don't even know what, but I was hoping it would be enough. Essentially, I ended up going for the Thunderdome method on every single split phase because none of my spells are really too viable on the Atziri split phase, thanks to the actual reflected mirror ad. It means I can't really use almost anything. Can't use Spark, can't use Arc, can't really use Shock Nova unless I conk effect it and then it becomes weaker. And I try out other things like Discharge and Stormcall, and they just don't cut the mustard at this sort of setup, as you'll see. But as far as Trash Clear goes, it's really strong. As far as most other bosses goes, it's really strong. The Arc, Vile Lightning Strike, and Spark setup shits on pretty much every boss. It's just when you have to do multiple phases, or if there's a reflected mirror ad in there for God knows what reason, means you just can't do anything with some of your spells. But here we are with Atziri. She doesn't die too slowly, so it's actually decent enough DPS. I kind of just potato my way through that and take plenty of damage, but this is the first instance of our Thunderdome actually working. So I do have 2 sparks in there at the time, I think, and the goal is to Vile Glacial Hammer one of the targets, so none of your sparks get out and actually hit the mirror ad, which, when it works really well, and I can even actually end up freezing the target I'm attacking. But that means you need 3 separate Vile Glacial Hammers and you need to charge them up. This is when I ran out of Vile Glacial Hammers. I don't know why I didn't bring 3, but there it is. So then I had to come in and clean it up with a Shock Nova setup, which, as you can see, kinda sucks balls. But it does the job, at least on a normal Atziri. It's not very strong, but it's good enough to get the job done, even though it's kind of average. I had to use Conk Effect with Shock Nova just to get it done. Now this is me trying Stormcall out, and as you can see, Stormcall just really kind of sucks in this setup. I don't know why, for me particularly it sucks. I just don't get enough procs, I think. And Molten Striking was certainly one of the things I tried out, but really isn't an option on something like Atziri, because it forces me to stand still and just take shitloads of damage while getting out lots of procs. Lastly, I also tried here Ramirez with Discharge, and as you can see, it kinda is weird. Like, I don't get too many good procs, I don't get too many discharges going off, and yeah, I guess we cut that off. Now this, I believe, is me trying out Uber Atziri for the first time. Actually, no, this may be the second run. And I'll let you guys watch it. It goes pretty well up until Atziri herself. So the build's pretty damn viable for everything up until Atziri. But we need a Voltaxic to save the day on Atziri herself, because as you'll see, it's just a completely different ballgame. There's a very large difference between strong builds and completely overpowered builds. So I'll let you guys enjoy the struggle, and I'll see you at Atziri. Yeah, we've got 3 Vile Lightning Strikes this time around, so that's better start than last. Now we trigger one of them, trigger the other. Oh shit, that's why I was getting wrecked to no area in. Pop all our shit, Vile Lightning Strike one, Vile Lightning Strike the other, wait for him to come back up, Vile Lightning Strike again, and it should not be too bad. Start by popping all our shit. Damage was fairly lackluster. Could be okay though. There it is! Strategy paid off. Now, do I change anything? I didn't even change my setup. Oh god, I double arced that boss just then? Fuck, man. I definitely wanted 1 spark in that setup. For the trio, do I stick to double arc? Is the question. Spark's kind of janky with that shit. We want the stim node on, that's for sure. I don't know. Start charging up another hammer though. Charge up my last hammer. Okay, I gotta go while I've still got shit up. I'll go with a spark. Okay. Jesus, that guy's dying quickly. They're all dying fairly quick, but yeah. I wanted to make sure that I had to go back in to make sure that Titty died first, because they were all dying pretty fast. I was not happy with that. See, I think that could be deathless. It was pretty damn close this time around. Just gotta do the order a lot better and... yeah, Bob's your uncle. Well, now shit hits the fan. Did what was supposed to be the easy part. Officially, unofficially. There's just no way this works. I'm fairly confident there's no way this works. This is a fucking death sentence. Absolute death sentence. Mother of God. Here is where shit starts to really hit the fan. Now I've charged up 3 Vile Glacier Hammers ready to Thunderdome every individual phase, but the problem is I'm just barely getting any damage up on Atziri herself without use of flasks, without use of Thunderdome, and my leap slime is slow as shit, so I couldn't even get out of that in time. But yeah, the damage just isn't very adequate on Atziri herself individually without my flasks up, or the Thunderdome, and I'm struggling to even leech back life most of the time, struggling to stand still and do damage. Molten Strike is completely out of the question because I would die immediately. That was basically an entire waste of a Thunderdome. I think we might try and get one more. I completely forgot about Vile Glacier Hammer there. In essence, it's just terrible and this isn't working out for me whatsoever. So we basically have to log on to Voltaxic, and it's night and day. This is ridiculous, as you can see. This is the first time I've even logged on Voltaxic in like a week or two, and it doesn't really matter. Just face roll Atziri. Completely different ball game. This build is ranged, it has much more DPS, and it's probably got more survivability, so it just doesn't make sense. Maybe that's just my failing in making a Mjolnir build the way I made it, but for mapping, I really like the Mjolnir build, and I would do it again, honestly. In any case, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.